Well, I bought a Jeep. Now here's 5 reasons why I want to hate this Jeep and 5 reasons why I think I'm gonna love it. As a patrol driver, there's one thing that I can say that patrol drivers and Land Cruiser drivers have in common, and that is we hate Jeeps. So I'm gonna try and keep this list as short as possible because in the same video, we're gonna start the build, do some basic modifications to it, and then take it out and hit some epic tracks. Now, at the time of recording this Jeep, in its spec, top of the line Rubicon with a trail ready pack, you're sitting at around $86,000 drive away in Australia. So it's not a cheap investment. Now let's get started on the 5 things I hate about this Jeep. So the first thing, why I hate this Jeep, well, it has to be at the very front of it, the engine. A 3.6 litre V6 Pentastar engine. Now this engine is, for my mind, underpowered and low torque. It's got good horsepower rating when you compare it to turbo diesels here in Australia, but the torque specifications are extremely low, which to me make this engine an absolute dog when it comes to having to tow or haul. Lucky for the Rubicon spec, it has some sensational gearing, so I'm pretty confident going up tracks it'll be fine. But as for towing, touring and all that, I don't think this engine has what we're looking for here in Australia. So add that underperforming engine with a little bit of poor fuel economy, it's just a terrible package. This thing on average is getting, for me, and it's only got 1,500 kilometers on the clock at the moment, I'm averaging around 14 to 14.2 liters per 100, which isn't great specs at all. And I haven't even started modifying it yet. So start throwing bigger rubber on it, bigger lifts, all that. Those fuel economy numbers are just gonna be off the charts. Still better than the Patrol though. Now the third thing is payload. Now this is meant to be a dual cab ute that can carry gear. The payload on the V2 spec, which I have here for the Rubicon and the Night Eagle, is 693 kilograms. For the V1 spec, it was only 620 kilograms on the Rubicon or 521 kilograms for the Overland spec. So it's very, very low. I would say extremely subpar. As soon as you put a fridge, gear, and if, let's say you want to start towing with it, you add that bull weight, it's really not a practical car to tow or carry gear with. So the other thing is, well, the daily drivability of this. Now, this isn't as bad as previous Jeeps I have driven. I mean, you've only got to jump on the forums and just see how many people talk about these things wandering. All I can say is, don't get distracted, change radio stations, or even look, take your eyes off the road just that tiny little bit, because there's every chance you've wandered somewhere where you don't want to be wandering. So I think the daily drivability of these is not great, and this is even before we start modifying them. Now the 5th and final bugbear with this Jeep is, well, I'm sorry to say it, is the looks. I mean, the front end's okay, but it doesn't look right with the way that the rear door is there, the length of it. But I think what really makes this thing just not stand out for me and look a little bit lacking has to be the rubber. Those tires are skinny. It just does not suit the car at all. And I reckon that's why you throw rubber on these cars almost straight away. And I've got a bit of a hunch that as soon as I've done it to this car's gonna transform and actually start to look a hell of a lot better. Now that's enough of the bad stuff, the things I hate about this car. It had to be said. I mean, you look at forums, everybody has their own gripes with this thing. Now it's time to talk about the things I love about this thing. First thing, well, straight out of the box, this thing has to be the most capable off-road vehicle I've driven in a long time. I mean, wow. Stock standard, this thing is insane. Twin locked, sway bar disconnect, low ratio, crawls, mud tires are standard. This thing is pretty cool. I drove it, took it out to Swan Gully 4-Drive Park, did a bit of 4-driving in it, took it on some medium tracks, and I remember just turning to everyone that was there with me and I thought to myself, I'm going to become a lazy 4-driver because this thing, it's just bloody good. Whilst off-road, the visibility in this thing is insane. The A-pillars are so small, we've got great visibility, the doors are so skinny, I mean they're designed to be taken off, but to be able to see your lines, see your wheel, spot everything, the visibility in this car off-road is like nothing I've driven out in Australia at all. You think about the Patrol that I've got, you think about some of the other dual cabs I've driven, they just don't have this sort of visibility. I mean, this is designed for going off-road, and that's exactly what it does. It goes off-road really well. Now, the third reason I love this thing, well, it's the cabin. This thing has awesome technology. The infotainment system, the sound system, leather seats, heated steering wheel, push button remote start. I mean, it's got everything. The interior is just spot on. It is such great technology, and for me, it's actually quite well built. I'm pretty impressed with the way that's all built inside that cabin. I genuinely like being the driver inside that Jeep. Now, my wife is not a forward driver. She loves being a passenger, loves going out adventuring with me. I threw her the keys to this. She never wants to drive my Patrol, ever, never. Won't touch it, won't drive it, not even home from dinner. I gave her the keys to this and she's like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll give that a go. Drove straight up a hill. The thing is, the first thing she said to me was just like driving down the street. So it's an impressive vehicle off-road, it genuinely is. Now, the final thing, the reason I love this thing is the support for aftermarket parts. I mean, you can bolt everything off and everything onto this thing. The parts that are globally available are awesome. You can really customize it. It's super readily available. You can still do your own custom fabrication if you want, but you don't need to. There's just supported so well. Great bolt-on parts to really personalize and make this Jeep something unique and different, which is exactly what we're going to go do now. We're going to start bolting some parts on it before we head out and do some fun tracks.
Because the Jeep was so capable out of the box with already front and rear factory lockers, sway bar disconnect, crawl gears, the first round of this build wasn't as big as I've done in the past. It's all about building it, using it, and perfecting it to my liking out on the tracks I'm wanting to drive. The Fox factory suspension out and a new set of BP51s paired with a set of Murchison springs bolted in. Also added are adjustable lower control arms, extended sway bar links, larger bump stops, and a steering dampener flip kit. Keeping the engine fed with clean air and increasing the intake point is a Safari snorkel. Side note, on the snorkel, I am loving the engine note when driving with the window down. Air compressor, which is mounted under the passenger seat for easy airing up. ARB front bar with a worn Evo winch fitted. And the final piece of the puzzle, some 35-inch Mickey Thompson Baja Boss tyres fitted on some DWC wheels. Finishing out the build, a set of hardcore 9-inch lights out front, Oricum UHF radio, a lithium second battery in the tray, My Coolman fridge, fridge slide, and bed rack with 2 pairs of Tread Pros ready to go. A couple things I've noticed after driving this vehicle on some tough tracks is the ramp over angle and the overhang on the tub have caught me out a couple of times. So for round 2 of this build, it's all about addressing those issues to make this vehicle unstoppable on the tracks. After some pinstripes, compliments of Coffs Harbour, it's now time for a nice vinyl wrap. Probably should have done that first. I was looking for something a little different. Matte finish with a gradient front to back, starting up front with grey and finishing down the back in black. With all the door hinges, bolts on the Jeep, it was not a simple car to wrap and have the design flow. The legends at SD Detailing have done a great job. And finishing it off is a nice topographic map design running down the side. I am absolutely blown away with the Jeep Gladiator. This thing off-road is unbelievable, and around town, a lot of fun to drive. Great tech, great stereo. I'm definitely not going to be hitching up a caravan and towing that around anytime soon, but hey, that's not what I bought it for. For that, I'll keep the Nissan Patrol.
and it was all RPM until bang.
I was waiting for that.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up, hit the bell button and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of our latest content.